should never be opened. Some stories should never be told. Some nightmares should never be awakened. But tonight, we're crossing the threshold into absolute terror. Tonight, we venture beyond nightmare. Welcome, brave souls, to Beyond Nightmare, where sanity comes to die, and fear becomes your only companion. I am your guide through the labyrinth of terror that awaits in the shadows of our world. Tonight's descent into madness will take us through 3 circles of hell. 3 stories that will claw their way into your mind and nest there like parasites, feeding on your peace until sleep becomes nothing but a distant memory. Are you truly prepared to surrender your soul to the darkness? Because once we begin this journey, there is no turning back. The stories you're about to hear have claimed minds before yours. Will you be next? The whispering woods deep in the heart of Blackwood Forest, where civilization fears to tread, stands a grove that mapmakers refuse to chart. Local authorities have sealed the records. Missing persons reports from the area simply vanish. The trees here don't grow toward the light, they twist downward, their branches reaching into the earth like gnarled fingers desperate to drag something up from the depths below. The bark weeps a substance that isn't sap. It's too warm. Too red. Sarah Mitchell was an experienced hiker. 23 years old, athletic, prepared. She entered Blackwood Forest on October 13th at 2:47 p.m. Her GPS tracker went dark at 3:15 p.m. Her screams were heard until 3:47 p.m. The search team found her camp 3 days later. Her tent was shredded from the inside. Her sleeping bag was soaked with something that forensics couldn't identify. But it was the journal entries that truly terrified them. Day 1, the trees are watching me. I know how that sounds, but I can feel their attention like ice water in my veins. Day 2, they whispered my name all night. Not my full name, my childhood nickname. The one only my dead grandmother used. Day 3, I tried to leave this morning. The path led me in circles. But the trees, they've moved closer. They form a perfect circle around my camp now. The whispers are getting louder. They're not speaking English anymore. They're speaking in grandmother's voice. The final entry was written in something that wasn't ink. They showed me what's buried beneath their roots. The others who came before. They're still alive down there, fed by the trees, kept conscious to feed the forest with their terror. I understand now why the path won't let me leave. I'm not leaving. I'm joining them. The roots are already growing through my feet. When the search team finally found Sarah, she was standing perfectly still in the center of the grove. Roots had indeed grown through her feet, anchoring her to the earth. Her eyes were gone, replaced with hollow sockets filled with black soil. But she was smiling. She spoke only once before the roots pulled her down into the earth. Thank you for bringing more food. The forest was getting so hungry. But forests aren't the only places where horror takes root. Sometimes, the greatest monsters wear white coats and call themselves healers. The Madhouse Experiments Ravens Hollow Psychiatric Hospital closed its doors in 1987 after what officials called administrative irregularities. The truth was far more sinister. For 30 years, Dr. Marcus Vail had been conducting experiments that would make Joseph Mengele weep with envy. The hospital's basement level was never included in any official blueprints. Patients would disappear from their rooms in the night, their beds found empty, restraints still locked. The staff would simply update their files, patient transferred to specialized care. Vail believed that madness was a doorway, a portal to dimensions beyond human comprehension. His journals, discovered decades later sealed in the hospital's foundation, revealed experiments that violated every principle of medicine and morality. Subject 47 shows remarkable progress. After 7 days of sensory deprivation combined with hallucinogenic compounds, she has begun speaking in languages that don't exist. The words she uses, they hurt to hear. 2 nurses have already requested transfers after exposure to her vocalizations. Subject 73 achieved breakthrough on day 12. The surgical modifications to his visual cortex have allowed him to see what he calls the spaces between spaces. He draws constantly now, geometric patterns that seem to move when you're not looking directly at them. 3 staff members have suffered seizures after prolonged exposure to his artwork. Most promising is Subject 91. After removing portions of her frontal lobe and replacing them with tissue from Subject 12, who claimed to communicate with the dead, she has begun manifesting physical phenomena. Objects move around her. Temperatures drop. Most fascinating, she can apparently pull things through from elsewhere. The final entry in Dr. Vail's journal was different. Written in what appeared to be multiple handwritings, as if several people had shared the pen, we are no longer separate. The barriers between self and other have dissolved. We see through each other's eyes, think with each other's minds. The experiments were successful, more successful than we ever dared hope. Vail no longer exists as an individual entity. Neither do we. We are something new. Something that exists in the spaces between madness and enlightenment. And we are so very hungry for new subjects. They say the hospital still operates in those hidden basement levels. They say if you know where to look, you can still hear the experiments continuing. But there's something far worse than mad doctors and tortured patients. Something that hunts not for knowledge or power, but for the pure joy of terror.
The hunger in the dark in every culture, in every civilization throughout history. There's stories of things that hunt in the darkness. We tell ourselves they're metaphors, symbols, ancient fears made manifest in story. We're wrong. They're memories, genetic memories of the time when we were prey. The Peterson family moved to Willow Creek because it was safe. Good schools, low crime rate, tree-lined streets where children could play after dark. It started with small things. Pets going missing, strange sounds in the night, footprints in the morning dew that were almost human, but wrong somehow. Too long, too narrow, with extra joints where joints shouldn't be. Emma Peterson, age 7, was the first to see them clearly. She woke her parents at 3:33 a.m., screaming about the tall shadow people outside her window. Her father found nothing. But the next morning, there were handprints on the glass from the outside. On the second floor, the handprints were enormous, 7 fingers each, and they were still warm. Night after night, they returned, always at 3:33 a.m., always to Emma's window. They would stand perfectly still in the moonlight, their impossible silhouettes stretching up toward the roof. Waiting, the family installed security cameras, motion sensors, floodlights. Nothing worked. The creatures didn't register on any electronic device, but Emma could see them clearly. They're not trying to get in, she told her parents. They're waiting for us to invite them. They're waiting for us to open the door ourselves. On the 7th night, Emma sleepwalked. Her parents found her standing at the front door, her hand on the deadbolt. She was still asleep, but she was smiling. They show me what happens to families who don't invite them in, she whispered, eyes still closed. The Johnsons down the street. The Martins on Oak Avenue. The Delacroix family. All names of neighbors who had recently moved away suddenly. The last security recording was from inside the house. It shows Emma walking back to her room, still smiling, still asleep. Behind her, the darkness moves. It flows like liquid shadow, but there are shapes within it. Tall, impossibly thin shapes with too many joints and fingers that scrape the ceiling as they pass. The Peterson house stands empty now. The for sale sign has been up for 3 months, but no one seems interested. Neighbors report seeing lights in the windows at 3:33 a.m. They report hearing children laughing. But Emma Peterson doesn't live there anymore. Does she?
Having walked you through 3 stories. 3 doorways into the abyss that surrounds our comfortable, safe little world. But these aren't just stories, are they? They're warnings. Breadcrumbs leading you to the truth that society desperately wants to hide. The forest still whispers. The hospital still operates. The creatures still hunt. And now you know. Now you're part of the pattern. Now you carry these seeds of terror in your mind, where they'll grow and spread until you can't distinguish between nightmare and reality. Sweet dreams tonight. Try not to think about the sounds outside your window. Try not to wonder what's watching you from the darkness beyond your bedroom door. Try not to remember that some doors, once opened, can never be closed again. This has been Beyond Nightmare, where fear is the only truth, and terror is the only God. I am your shepherd through the valley of the shadow of death. Until next time. Like, share and comments.